I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning and welcome to our morning meeting, March 7th, 2024. Board of County Commissioners. My name is Andy Hunthausen. To my left, Commissioner Tom Rolfe. To his left, good morning, by the way. And to his left, Flo Liston. Good morning, Flo. Taking care of us today. And Greg McNally, who's the director of our Community Development and Planning Department. To my right, Commissioner Candace Payne. Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And to her right, our Deputy County Attorneys, Nico Hash and Keegan Shea. Good morning, gentlemen. And Roger Baltz, our Chief Administrative Officer. There's a sign-in sheet in the front as well as agendas. Sign in prior to leaving our meeting today. That would be grand. All right. We do not have any consent action items, Mr. Baltz. So we will jump right into our agenda, which is agenda item number 3, resolution 2024-15, setting seasonal weight limits on specific roads under the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for 2024. Good morning, sir. And by the way, before you get into this, you're looking pretty darn sharp, by the way.
Excuse me, I don't think I've ever seen Kevin with a necktie. I mean, is this like once a year?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman Hunthausen. Commissioner Rolfe, good morning.
Good morning.
Commissioner Payne, good morning to you as well.
And to you, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Horne. Spelling on that is first name Kevin, Kevinhorne. I'm the operations manager for Lewis and Clark County's Public Works Department. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I draw your attention to item 3 today. That is entitled Resolution 2024-15, setting seasonal weight limits on specific roads under the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for 2024. Before you today is Resolution 2024-15 for seasonal weight limit restrictions on specific hard surfaced roads within the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for fiscal year 2024. This winter, we have experienced unseasonable warm temperatures along with extremely cold temperatures across Lewis and Clark County. Seasonal weight limit restrictions are necessary as the frozen ground begins to thaw. The base gravel in the roadbed becomes saturated and ultimately causes surface breakup and premature failure. The current freeze-thaw cycles we have been experiencing have the potential to cause severe damage on our roads with heavier loaded vehicles. The road's ability to carry fully loaded vehicles is substantially reduced during this time period. Staff has worked very closely with the county attorney's office to develop this resolution to protect our investment and keep the roads safe and serviceable for the public use from the period beginning March 11th, 2024 through Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Public Works staff will also be working closely with Betsy Kirkaby, our community outreach professional, to assist in all public notice prior to posting the enforcements on the seasonal weight limit restrictions. Public notice for resolution 2024-15 will begin upon the Board of County Commissioners approval. Public notice will be given via social media, news media, also by fax and email to the current list of contractors and heavy haulers within Lewis and Clark County. Notice of seasonal restrictions will also be posted on Lewis and Clark County's website. Staff recommends approval and adoption of resolution 2024-15 for seasonal weight limit restrictions on specific hard surface roads and authorize the chair to sign.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horne. Appreciate your presentation and completeness there. Any questions, commissioners, about this item? Any questions?
No questions.
I have a question.
Commissioner Payne.
Kevin, I've had a lot of comments from people regarding the status of the country club road between city limits and out at the fort and the Bird's Eye. And I realize that that is an ongoing problem. I don't see, doesn't that have a permanent weight limit, or does it? And is that in our next resolution? Or is that so complicated and tied up with the military that we can't deal with this in our?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, great question. Country Club is in the next resolution as a permanent restriction. I will comment that we are in the March, April area where hot mix asphalt is not available in the market currently. We have made arrangements where we have picked up some cold mix patch material, and all of the potholes on Country Club have been patched as of last week.
Wow. One more question. Have we had any communication from from Senator Tester's office regarding the status of a military, some kind of funding so this road can be fixed? Because our hands are kind of tied. Our citizens are not happy with the situation. They're banging on the county's door. The county can't do it because we need the approval of the military. And I'm not happy with that as an excuse for why we can't fix this.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, I'd like to maybe have Director Chambers answer that question. She's kind of been on the front lines and had some previous interviews, so I'll turn the mic over to her if it's okay.
Aren't you glad I came back?
Chairman Hunthausen, Commissioners, for the record, my name is Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director. Yes, Commissioner Payne, we certainly did apply for a congressional appropriation from Tester's office and Dane's office to try to get some funding for a design work for Country Club Road. As we know, that road infrastructure is failing. It needs to have a complete road reconstruction where you would tear up the subsurface and redesign the road. There's some complications with that road because of the wetlands and the narrower road and right-of-way impacts that we're going to have to evaluate. So that's why we need to do a more engineering design based upon that effort for major reconstruction in the future. To date, we have not heard from the congressionals on whether or not that funding has been approved. I'm thinking it might be tied up in the continual resolution with the presidential budget and the Congress's budget. But we certainly can follow up on that to double check to see if there's any status updates for you. Also, as an interim measure, we hope to have a proposal for you in front of the next fiscal year budget, fiscal year 25, for the commissioners to evaluate, to do kind of an interim measure where we'll do a 3-inch asphalt overlay on Country Club Road. That would basically allow for a little bit smoother transition to kind of bridge the gap until we get money for design and money for reconstruction moving forward. So as Kevin mentioned, Mr. Horne, that we're doing some pothole patching, but that's just going to continue as time moves forward. If we do a 3-inch asphalt overlay, that will help make this surface a lot smoother to buy us a little bit 3 to 5 years. Where we can continue to work for funding opportunities, apply for grants, and look for different development opportunities in the future.
Okay. And another issue has been where Country Club Road meets Williams Road and the Bird's Eye Road, and there is a very dangerous intersection there. And what are we doing? That doesn't have to do with construction. That has to do with, we need to have somebody out there directing traffic, or what can we do?
Sure. Chairman Hunthausen, Commissioner Payne, that intersection's been that way for quite some time. We do monitor it and evaluate whether there's any significant traffic data, crash information that's available. That does help you with grant opportunities, unfortunately, if those things do exist. That would be some of the ultimate design. So it does require construction. Not necessarily, we don't have the resources to have somebody direct it. There's proper signage following traffic control signage and markings to be aware for the folks that are driving on that area. It's signed according to the requirements based upon that intersection. Moving forward, we would like to do something with that intersection as part of the design. So the design work would go all the way from Williams all the way over to Jocelyn Street and try to rerun that whole corridor. It will require some right-of-way acquisition because we don't currently own the whole right-of-way on that area. So it's going to take some partnership with the military, Fort Harrison, the Montana National Guard, as well as maybe some of the landowners in the area, which is also like Prickly Pear Land Trust. We've had some communication with them as well.
I'm concerned that the issue may not be addressed until I live out north of Lincoln Road, and as you know, one year there were like 5 people killed on Lincoln Road at various intersections. At that point, we found the money, we got the design, we got roundabouts put in. And I know they're not popular, but by golly, we haven't anybody killed. And that's, is this Department of Transportation? Who could move this pile forward before somebody? I don't want my son getting killed on that corner.
Commissioner Hunthausen, Commissioner Payne, yeah, that's certainly a fair analogy. So the road on Williams and Country Club is county jurisdiction. Lincoln Road is MDT jurisdiction. However, we can partner with the Federal Highway Administration and the Montana Department of Transportation to look for funding opportunities through grants to try to make improvements prior to something happening or occurring. Some of the MDT programs and Federal Highway Administration programs, they have a safety program called the Hazard Safety Improvement Program. Some of the projects we do get from funding from those activities are because that there's significant traffic data that indicates that there's some unsafe conditions there, which is a fatality usually or other situations. So that's one option, but we are not just looking at that only option. There's other grant opportunities that we can do proactively to try to find funding, but it is county jurisdiction. We're going to have to try to find those funds ourselves and apply for dollars. If we get the design money work, that will give us a document that really allows us to apply for construction dollars to make significant changes moving forward. But first you have to have the design so that you can really indicate why this is a problem, why we need the information, and what our plan is to address it.
I appreciate all the attention you've given this, Jenny, and I know we've talked about this significantly, but it's still, I really hope nobody gets killed while we're waiting around, first on one foot and then on the other, to see, oh, is this serious? We gotta, so thank you for your attention.
Commissioner Hunthausen, Commissioner Payne, we will have something in the budget to move forward to try to help with the safety improvements on Country Club Road for the interim gap. But we can also provide to you guys what that proposal might look like for long-term funding needs. And depending upon where the budget lays out or where priorities change, we can continue to make this a priority or move things forward.
Okay, one more. So there is a bill to use marijuana tax money to improve county roads, and it was vetoed by our governor. And now it's got to go back and have the legislature decide if they want to override his veto. If we were to get money from the marijuana tax, would that help us to deal with that issue?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Payne, certainly any extra revenue that comes to the county, we can put that to the priorities that we have in front of us. We would provide to you guys what that proposal may be based upon where that would be and how much funding that is and what the best use of those dollars might be from our recommendation. But certainly a Country Club may be one of those that, depending upon the dollar amount, we could make some improvements on that area.
Thank you. Wouldn't that be nice? That's all.
Thank you. Okay. Move us back to the item at hand is resolution 2024-15, which is setting seasonal weight limits. So Mr. Horne, anything else you want to add about seasonal weight limits?
Mr. Chairman, yes, please. The prior to thank you, Director Chambers, for the explanation on Country Club. Prior to Director Chambers coming on board with the county to help answer some of your question on that intersection, we had a traffic consultant, Bob Abeline with Abeline Traffic Service, do an analysis of that and a recommendation of a sign package, of which we installed about 2 years ago, based on some of that crash data and some of that near misses. So we are current to the traffic standards in that intersection to the best of our capabilities through our traffic consultant.
So, Mr. Horne, so as it stands now, you've made that intersection as safe as we can make it according to today's rules. for this season and the breakup for this season, you've done the cold patching. As soon as the asphalt plant opens and we get budget approval through this process, we'll do potentially an overlay, which will hopefully last us until we can work through the federal grant process and the DAR grant process and maybe get a complete redesign of that roadway and intersection at the same time. So that's all coming. So
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. Public Works has a plan to make a safer road. You bet.
great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for the questions, Commissioner Payne. Again, resolution 2024-15, setting seasonal weight limits. Any other questions about seasonal weight limit specifically? Okay, how about public comment on this resolution? How about public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 2024-15?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion? Just thank you for your diligence on this. Appreciate it. If nothing else, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much, commissioners. Next item on the agenda is resolution 2024-16, setting permanent weight limits on specific roads under the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for 2024. Mr. Horne.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, once again, my name is Kevin Horne, spelling on that. His first name Kevin, Kevin. Last name is Horne, Horne. I'm the Operations Manager for Lewis and Clark County's Public Works Department. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the next item is number 4 on today's agenda. It is entitled Resolution 2024-16, setting permanent weight limits on specific roads under the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for fiscal year 2024. Before you today is Resolution 2024-16 for permanent weight restrictions on specific hard surfaced roads within the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County. Permanent year-round weight limits are needed on roads that have substandard base material and have a double shot of chip seal. These roads will not stand normal highway loading. Normal highway loading has the potential to cause severe damage and ultimately lead to costly repairs. Staff has worked very closely with the county attorney's office to develop this resolution to protect our investment, keep our roads serviceable and safe for public use. Staff also recommends that these roads remain permanently restricted. Public Works staff will be working closely once again with Betsy Kirkaby, our community outreach professional, to assist in all public notices required for permanent weight limit restrictions. Public notices for Resolution 2024-16 will begin upon approval of the Board of County Commissioners. Public notices will be sent via social media, news media, and also by fax or email to our current list of contractors and heavy haulers within the county. Permanent weight restrictions will also be posted on Lewis and Clark County's website. Staff recommends approval and adoption of Resolution 2024-16 for permanent weight limit restrictions on specific hard surfaced roads and authorize the chair to sign.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horne. Any questions, commissioners, around resolution 2024-16?
So this, Mr. Chair, if we might, this is where we deal with Country Club Road more directly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rolfe.
On a temporary basis.
Yes.
This is not the final deal. This is just another Band-Aid.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, if I may, the behind you on the screen is what our actual weight limit signs look like, whether they are for seasonal and or for permanent. On my left, your right is the road signs, 7 tons per axle on a single axle, 14-ton tandem axle. Those are specific to roads and roads only. And the reason I put that up there is the one on the right-hand side is a bridge weight limit sign. That is a total different sign package. Those are for load limits on bridges. Those are imposed by MDT. You'll see a lot of those within road restriction roads. I don't want the public and or anybody to be confused between road and bridge. That's why they are different sign packages. So I thought I'd bring that out. You'll see on any of your roads you enter into a weight limit, there'll be one of those signs in the driving lane. Typically when we put up our seasonal weight limit signs. We try to mark those with an orange flag just to draw a little bit more attention to them. The permanent ones remain in place year round. And of course, in this resolution, we ask the commission on an annual basis to redo this resolution, and we do it year to year to year. That way we can make any kind of adjustments and or modifications as our public works staff sees fit on the conditions of our roads.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Horne. And I guess this sparks a question for me. Just some of the folks might be interested that are watching. And I know in your former working life, you worked for a heavy hauler at times. And so I'm assuming that getting this done now really helps those folks say, hey, you know, now we know what routes, what loads, where we can go. They kind of plan their system out and how they're going to transport heavy loads based on some of this information. So it helps them to get this done early and upfront.
Commissioner Hunthausen, great question. Yes, my prior life, I was involved in a lot of that, and I understand the importance of the contracting side and the work that they need to accomplish. What we can do through our public works department, contractors and heavy haulers can ask us for a permit on a restricted road. I personally like to talk to them. I'd like to know, you know, what kind of axles they have on the rigs that they're hauling, what kind of weights they're hauling, time frames, that sort of thing. But we will issue a permit. One thing we do require in that permit, if a load can be reduced, then we will not issue a permit. And what I mean by that is if you're hauling concrete in a mixer truck and it's a 10-yard truck, they can reduce that load to 7 yards to be compliant with our weight limits. So we will not issue a permit for that. Same with lumber trucks. There's a lot of essential services out there too, garbage trucks, propane trucks, that we work with those people, and we typically would write them a seasonal permit. So we don't have to permit every single one. They tell us where their routes are. They tell us the roads that they want to use, and we will write just basically a global permit. We get their truck numbers, we have their axle weights, we have the weights of their trucks, and we issue to that for convenience for essential services. So we do our best to work with the contractors and the hired haulers around the county and still protect the integrity of our roads.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the explanation. Any further questions, commissioners? All right. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Seeing no public comment, commissioners, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to accept resolution 2024-16, setting permanent weight limits on specific roads under the jurisdiction of Lewis and Clark County for 2024, as explained by Mr. Horne.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion, commissioners? Just as you just explained, I'm really glad you're on this and the team's on this. It's really important for the integrity of our roads and the protection of the taxpayer dollar, of course. And then I appreciate the kind of what we just described, you know, working with our heavy haulers around the community so that they understand what our expectations are, as well as they can do some planning around these documents, knowing which roads are weight limit restricted and all of that. So thank you very much. All right, commissioners, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next item on the agenda is a contract between Lewis and Clark County and Pine Cove Consulting.
Do you have to say something like the resolution is adopted, or, you know, sort of like closing the lid? We just all said hi and then.
Good morning, Commissioner Hunthausen and
Director Chambers. good
commissioners.
morning.
Again, Jenny Chambers, Lewis Clark County Public Works Director. Today before you is a contract with Pine Cove Consulting to replace and install cameras at the Journey Home. The cameras will provide a 30 days of footage with the option of unlimited archive backup for the Verkada Command Cloud service. So it's a cloud-based subscription and a license for 5 years per camera. Replacement of the new cameras is necessary for the existing camera system is currently Hikvision, and that has major vulnerabilities for cyber attacks and other security related issues. It is not compliant with the National Defense Authorization Act. And so we need to replace those camera systems to have a more secure system in place for our network. As a stopgap measure, just to let folks know, Until the cameras can be replaced, the existing systems are not connected to our current network. And we have to image and retain it on a standalone basis. So it's not tied in the network until we get the cameras replaced. Funding for this project is provided by the Crisis Diversion Grant through the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. And the Behavioral Health and Development Disabilities Division. We are coordinating this effort with our county public health office as well. And this is to assist with addressing the crisis services for this building and getting it ready for use in the future. Staff recommends approval of this contract with Pine Cove Consulting for a total sum not to exceed $26,099.94. And the work will be completed by May 31st of 2024. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions, commissioners?
No, very well explained.
Thank you. All right. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? All right, hearing none. Commissioners, is there a motion to approve this contract, please?
Mr. Chair, I would move to accept the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Pine Cove Consulting as explained by Ms. Chambers.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract between Lewis and Clark County and Pine Cove Consulting as presented. Further discussion? Thank you, Director Chambers. Appreciate it. And one of these things we've been anticipating and planning for a while. So glad that we're getting to this point of contracting it and getting it done. So thank you. And thank you to Mr. McCarley for his work on this. All right, commissioners, with that, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, commissioners. All right, next item on the agenda is number 6, a grant award to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana State Historical Preservation Office. Mr. McNally is here for us today. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. Greg McNally with Community Development Planning Department, standing in for Ms. Satardo, our Historic Preservation Officer, who this morning is touring some county facilities for our records management group that's visiting the county today. Commissioners, you have before you a grant from the Certified Local Government. This is an award from the Montana State Historic Preservation Office in the amount of $6,000. This is an award that we receive luckily annually from the Certified Local Government Program. And this grant period is extended from April 1st, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. Staff is recommending approval of this grant. This grant requires several things for us to do, and we maintain an active Historic Preservation Commission. We participate and carry out the responsibilities of the Certified Local Government Program. We ensure historic preservation concerns are considered at all levels of local government planning. We administer local preservation ordinances, and we designate a historic preservation officer who is active in all those efforts. We also engage in some training with the State Historic Preservation Officer at least once a year. And that is usually, again, our Historic Preservation Officer participating in that. So just a quick summary of what we do with the acceptance of that grant.
Thank you, Mr. McNally. Any questions for Mr. McNally? Thank you. Yes, this is an annual thing that we do and looking forward to it every year so that we can continue to fund some of these important services. Thank you, Mr. McNally. Any public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none. Commissioners, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to accept the grant award to Lewis and Clark County from the Montana State Historic Preservation Office as explained by Mr. McNally.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the grant award as presented. Further discussion, commissioners. All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is contract between Lewis, Clark County and Sanderson Stewart. Morgan's here today. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Lindsay Morgan, Land Use Planner for Lewis and Clark County. Today you will be considering a contract in the amount of $50,000 between the county and Sanderson Stewart. This is regarding the master plan for North Star Park. Funding for this project is going to be through ARPA monies. North Star Park, it's a county-owned property that was established in August of 2013. And that was through the final approval of the North Star subdivision. The property is approximately 18 acres in size, and if developed, would serve as a regional park. It's generally located north of Lincoln Road and west of North Montana Avenue in the North Star subdivision. A future park at this location would provide recreational opportunities for not only 250 plus single family and multifamily residential lots in the North Star subdivision, but also adjacent and or nearby subdivisions and properties. According to the scope of services under Exhibit A of the contract that would have been included in your packet, the consultant will complete this update with 4 main tasks. The first task would be public outreach prior to design and site planning. The second, design and site planning. And the third would be public outreach post-design and site planning. And then the final task would be the final site plan and or master plan. The anticipated completion date for this project is the end of this year. As this contract has been vetted by both grants and purchasing and county legal, staff is recommending its approval and is available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Morgan, any questions, commissioners?
I just, do we have a map of this?
Oh, where the North Star subdivision is located?
Where, actually, I know where the North Star subdivision is located. I just wanted to know where in that subdivision, this 18 acres.
It's right in the center. And I apologize for not having a map for you, but it is right in the center of that subdivision.
Okay, and I guess I didn't realize that was, I know the plot, I just didn't think it was 18 acres, but if you say it is, Lindsay, I know you know what's going on.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, and I just, for those that are watching and understanding, the last couple of years leading up to this point, there's been a pretty active, at least a few people that from the subdivision in that area that are very interested in moving this forward, have been very active in saying we want to try to find a way to develop this park and develop a plan. And we had an opportunity with our ARPA funds and working with the folks from that community and the Parks Board last year, being on the Parks Board. I remember coming forward there. So just wanted to make that note. I don't know if you have any comments related to working with the folks that live out there. This is not just a county initiated thing. We had significant input from the folks that live in the area. So,
Chairman Hunthausen, we have had interest over the years. We've had multiple people come forward. Most recently, we've got a group that's been pretty eager to get something going. But we have had people since August of 2013 when it first was created with an interest in getting that park developed.
thank you. Okay. How about public comment on this item? Any public comment? Any public comment? All right, commissioners, is there a motion to approve this contract, please?
I move that we accept the contract or approve the contract as presented by Ms. Morgan.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the contract as presented. Further discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a board appointment, City County Opioid Abatement Committee. Mr. Baltz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This is item 8A on your agenda this morning. I'll read the memo in your packet into the record for your consideration. So to begin with, these candidates meet the qualifications for consideration. The only qualification is that they reside in Lewis and Clark County, and this is for the City County Opioid Abatement Committee. This is a new committee. Susan Giese, Colleen Smith, and Vicki Turner applied. Staff recommends that the commissioners consider the applicants and select a candidate for the City County Opioid Abatement Committee to the county position at the pleasure of the commission for a 3-year term. Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Baltz. Appreciate it. And commissioners, from my observation, we have 3 great candidates and it is up to us to decide. So what's your pleasure?
Are we to the point of a motion?
I think we are,
I would make a motion.
unless there's comment.
I'd like to just comment on
Please.
on these 3 candidates. I know I've worked with Susan and Colleen, and I I don't recall if I have worked with Vicky Turner, but I'm very impressed with all of these candidates. And I think any of them would do a good job, but in my mind, I would really hope we can select Colleen Smith. She has been very active in this arena. She's very knowledgeable and she gets her teeth into something. I know it's going to get done. End of comment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Any other comment?
I would have to agree. They're all three qualified, very well qualified people. And any one of them would work hard for the county in this position. And I would agree with Commissioner Payne. And after having talked with all three of the candidates and asked about their background and their intentions, again, very qualified, but I would lean towards appointing Colleen Smith.
Thank you, Commissioner. I suppose prior to us taking action, I should ask for if there's any public comment on this item. Any public comment? All right, seeing no public come forward, we can continue our discussion and or make a motion. I would agree with both commissioners in the sense that it was very nice to see reading the applications that all three candidates are, in my mind, very qualified and would do an excellent job on this committee. So I will leave it to you, commissioners.
Mr.
The next step.
Mr. Chair, I would move to appoint Colleen Smith to the City County Opioid Abatement Committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Colleen Smith to the Opioid Abatement Committee. Commissioners, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that appointment is complete. Thank you, Mr. Baltz. Anything else from our team on either side? Commissioners, anything further from you? Is there any public comment on any item that is under the jurisdiction of the commission but not on today's agenda? Any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. Thank you, everyone. We will stand adjourned.